and we've been working on this for quite a while of trying to get her out here to do a presentation, and just thought it was great timing with the holidays coming and a lot of online shopping and excess phone calls that are coming in. So we thought the information would be helpful, and we're actually going to record it as well to get it out to other people in the community. So I'll turn it over to you.
That's a good idea.
So my name is Robin Putnam. I work for the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, and a big part of what I do for my job, besides sitting behind a desk, is coming and talking to groups about fraud prevention, because unfortunately it's here to stay. It's a $52 to $55 billion industry that will never, ever go away. So I think it's kind of important to kind of talk about different red flags that you might see or hear, because the more you talk about things that you're hearing, the less likely you're going to fall for something, and you might stop a friend from falling for something as well. Some of the programs in our office that we run, one is the Lemon Law. If you buy a car in Massachusetts and it turns out to be a lemon, please let us know. We have probably the strongest lemon laws in New England. We also run the Home Improvements Contractor Registration Program. So if you're going to do work on your own home and the project is over $1,000, which in my opinion is anything to do it with your home, except maybe changing a light bulb. That contractor has to be registered through our office. It is simply a registration. It keeps track of who's doing the good work in Massachusetts and who's not. If you have a problem with a contractor, we have a complaint program that you can apply to with us. And we also have an arbitration program and a guarantee fund that can pay up to $10,000 in losses. So if you're going to do work on your home, make sure your contractor is registered. If you're not sure if they're registered, you can go right online to our website. You can call our consumer hotline, and we can look up the registration information for you. So these are just some tips, some statistics about fraud. It's kind of staggering to see what's been going on in the last year. 41% of scams globally were related directly to online purchasing. That was just 23. 82% of the people reported losing lots of money to online shopping. It's roughly $10 billion in fraud in last year, which is up 14% from the year before. It's here to stay. The one thing that I kind of think is really interesting is it's not the demographic that most people think are getting hit is the seniors. It's really not. It's the 18 to 59-year-olds. They're not paying attention to things. They're always on their phone. If you have someone in your life who's, say, in 20 and younger, they're always on their phone. Yeah. They never pay attention to what they're doing. They walk across streets without even thinking about it. They click on links without thinking about it. They don't verify businesses before they go do some online shopping. It's your generation, quite honestly, that does the sleuthing and asks the questions, and you're not falling for as many things, which is fantastic. And my mother likes to say that because she's 82 and she's like, I don't fall for things. So I kind of think that's kind of fun. Preventing scams. Your phone. 90% of everyone at this point, ages 10 to 90, has a smartphone. You have to be very aware during the holidays of the texting scams. They really imploded during the pandemic. And they weren't scary scams. It was simply, this is UPS, this is FedEx, this is Amazon, we have a package. Could you click the link to verify your address? That was it. It wasn't, hi, this is the police chief, I have your grandson who got a DUI and we want $10,000. They're not as scary anymore. They're very simple. Simple text message, a simple phone call, a simple email to you. So just be aware of that. The police department is never going to call you and say, hey, we have your grandkid. They're not. It's just that a lot of the grandparent scam can seem very scary. If you have someone who's calling you and they sound suspicious, or if you have someone who's crying, oh my gosh, grandma, it's me, I'm in jail, or what have you, it's very hard to distinguish if it really is a grandchild. Is it really the chief of police? I'm not knocking the police department, but it's usually the grandparent scam. there is such a thing called social engineering, and what that is these scammers find out little pieces of information of who we are as a person. Whether you're online or not, your information is online. They can find out, they can do a Google search, they can do Ancestry.com, they can go to the local library, and there 100% is usually a lot of yearbooks that have been uploaded, and you can go to your library and pick up that information. So when they get those little pieces of information, they also might find it, say, through a data breach. What's been going on in Central and Western Mass is these scammers are getting personal information about you and impersonating doctor's offices. And so how the scam usually goes, this is Sarah, I'm calling from Dr. So-and-so's office. I'm the new receptionist and I'm updating his computer programs. Could you just verify that you last saw the doctor on this date for this, and you're now taking 800 milligrams of whatever medication, and you're due to see the doctor in 3 weeks, and you're getting an MRI at Shields MRI in Quincy in 6 weeks. So they find out all of these little pieces of information, and then they use it against you. So they're not asking you for anything scary, but what they do at the very end is they drop I call them the bomb. They will say, oh, could you just verify your full Medicare number, your full Social Security number, your full credit card information? So they give you lots of pieces to make you feel comfortable, then they ask for the big things. So if you get a phone call and it's a number you don't recognize, it comes up my office, it comes up police department, it comes up any federal agency, just know that we're never going to call you unless you leave our office a message. We don't have time in my day to call random people. So never give out personal information over the phone unless you've reached out to the entity, to your financial institution. They will say, they might figure out that, oh, Sarah Smith, who lives in 151 Main Street in Upton, Massachusetts, well, I think she's a Bank of America customer. Let's see if we can get her to fall for something. This is Bank of America. We noticed some discrepancies in your accounts. Were you at Best Buy last night trying to buy a $10,000 TV? And you might freak out a little bit. I would freak out. I'm like, whoa. You can't verify who really is calling. You cannot rely on your caller ID. There are at least 10 different apps that you can download and put on your smart device that will scramble your phone number. So you could, if you really wanted to, be a scam artist, because you could program your phone so that whoever you called, Upton Police, FedEx, Amazon, and that's what those scammers like to do, because they know that you're more apt to pick up the phone if it says Amazon or FedEx. We are going to the holidays, so, oh, maybe I ordered something. Did I order something? I don't know. So just be aware with your phones, as well as, any unsolicited or unwanted emails. The emails aren't as, they don't usually do the emails as much. It's more the cell phones. But if you do get an email that is suspicious, sounds a little odd, look at the email address of the sender, and if you hover your mouse over that email, the whole thing will pop up, and it will say, I'll use my bank as an example, customer service at bofa.com. That's it. Those are the only emails I've ever received, but the fraudulent ones are kind of fun. Bank O America, spelled oddly, it has italicized, it's in a funny color, at gmail.uk. So I know my bank wouldn't be using Gmail, and they're not located in the United Kingdom. So that should be kind of your first, doesn't look right. But if you look in the body of the in the email, look at what it's asking you to do. Look at the spelling and the grammar. For the most part, most of these scam artists, English is not their first language. They're from a foreign country. It's pretty easy to read through a quick email, and you can see it's funky, it's different, it's off the wall, and it doesn't make sense. If you're still not 100% sure, and it's someone saying that they are calling you or emailing you or texting you from your bank, simply pull out your ATM card or your bank card, another bank card or credit card, and call the consumer number on the back. And you can ask them, I got a call, I got an email, I got a text message, are you trying to get a hold of me? That way your financial institution, you're reaching out to them, and they can go through their files and say, no, we haven't sent you any emails or text messages or calls. Did you give any personal information out over the phone to whoever this person was? So they can walk you through their protocol, their safety protocol, but you just want to be very wary of the phones. Does anybody have questions so far? It was very quiet. So what do thieves do? A lot of times they want to make you uncomfortable. They will threaten you. A lot of times they will create a sense of urgency. We need you to do this now. Your grandchild is dying on the side of the road. I have your spouse. Whatever it may be. You might be deported if you don't respond now. Depending on where you lived, the scams can alter a little bit. If it's an area where English is not the main language of that specific area, they might threaten deportation. You didn't pay your taxes, we're going to deport you, and we're sending the National Guard out. Well, if you're not familiar with our country, you wouldn't know that the National Guard isn't going to come out, and you can't get deported. It's crazy what these people will do. How they ask you to pay for something. Wiring money, buying or sending a prepaid card. So this is the holiday season. Those prepaid cards are for gifts, not for paying somebody. So if someone says to you, hey, we've got your grandchild, but we'll take a Macy's card, you might want to rethink that. Sometimes they might coerce you to try to give them your login credentials. Or really, a lot of times the offer is too good to be true. You have to act now. So social media scams. As I kind of mentioned earlier, from 2023, it's jumped up 58%. Scammers love to create fake accounts. Now, especially during the holidays, if you are on Instagram, if you are on Facebook, if you are Googling something, if the offer is too good to be true, it's too good to be true. It is. You just never know. So the thing, too, about advertising on any of these platforms, anybody can advertise. They just need a credit card and will pay big dollars to have a beautiful ad right on Instagram that might say, Italian leather handbags for $12. Any color, we'll get to you in 2 weeks. If you've never heard of that business, you know that's a little too good to be true for Italian leather. But if you've never heard of that business, do some Google searching. See what kind of reviews are there about that business. Are they located in the U.S.? Are they located somewhere else? You just want to make sure you really investigate some of these businesses. I know a lot of people are kind of getting excited about using Temu. It is tracking you, and it's not a great company. I think they're based out of China, and their products, they fall apart. They're not great. So you want to just make sure you are looking at things like that, especially during the holidays. Read the fine print of different businesses, what their return policies are. There is no blanket return policy for the Commonwealth. Unless whatever you purchased is defective, then the merchant has to either give you a new one, give you your money back, or fix whatever you purchased. That's the only thing that will cover. But during the holidays, you want to just make sure you read the fine print of all of those return policies. Sometimes they do alter during the holidays. There might be restocking fees. I was going to use a shoe company, an online shoe company, and they go, oh, free returns. I'm like, oh, that's great. If it doesn't fit, I don't like it, whatever. But then the problem was, but there's a restocking fee for half the cost of the shoe. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. I don't think I want to do that. So you kind of never know. And especially during the holidays, there are some stores out there that will alter their return policy in that if you give somebody, let's just say, a beautiful sweater that you think is beautiful, but maybe a grandchild doesn't like the sweater, and you're going to say, hey, here's the gift receipt, go return it if you don't like it. That's fine, but you just look at that gift receipt. A lot of times they'll say, look, that person has until January 10th to return it with full price. But after the 10th, it's going on sale, so that's all they're gonna get. So do kind of look at those return policies, because you wanna make sure you know what you're getting into. Is that my phone? Phishing links, we kind of talked a little bit about. If you get an email, if you get a text message, and the offer is too good to be true, it doesn't look legit, I wouldn't click on anything. Be very wary of, if you're doing a search and a lot of these fraudsters will, as I mentioned earlier, create fake accounts. So they might have a slight misspelling in the business name, LL Bean. Maybe it's LLBEEN instead of EAN, and you're not paying attention. You think you're going to LL Bean. I'm just using them as an example. They're not fraudulent. You want to just make sure you're really going to the right place for that business. Third-party sellers. A lot of people love to use third-party sellers. There's a lot of them, with on Amazon. I think Target and Walmart do have third-party sellers. Not all of them are verified. So do make sure whomever you're thinking about using through a big box company, the third party is a legitimate business, is a legitimate person who lives somewhere in this country. You never know if that third party has been thoroughly vetted. I will just use myself as an example. I used Amazon to buy a dress, and I didn't verify the third party. It was coming from China, and it arrived 6 weeks late, but it was a dress for a 4-year-old. It was teeny. And I thought, okay, fine, I didn't verify. It's my fault. It wasn't very expensive. So I emailed them through Amazon, and they said their return policy was a little interesting. If you cut the dress in pieces, take some pictures, tell us that it arrived defective, we'll give you your money back. And I thought, what is this? So I emailed them and messaged Amazon. So Amazon looked at the communications, and they're like, oh my gosh, here's the $30, just donate the dress. These guys are not allowed to sell any of their products anymore. So you just want to verify that third party. You don't always know. Using a secure payment system, different methods. People ask about PayPal or Apple Pay. I don't have an issue with any of those. I would just say that those entities are as strong as the password that you create for those businesses. So if you haven't changed your password in the last 6 months for PayPal, to log into your bank or your credit card, you really should be changing and updating your password every 4 to 5 months. Usually when I mention that, people look down. Passwords, we are super lazy as a nation. We're very lazy in that we don't like to change our passwords. No one does. They need to be long. They have to have different characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers. You need to make it crazy. If you are not great at remembering passwords, I don't know anybody who is, you can do a password keeper. I have one on my phone. It's easy. I only need 2 passwords, one to get in the phone and one to get into the password keeper. I create very kooky, silly passwords that have nothing to do with who I am as a person. You just want to make sure it's not something easy. If you do a Google search for top 100 passwords U.S. residents use, you'll be quite shocked. It's a huge list. And people will love to say, recycle them. Well, maybe in 4 months, I'm going to just change it up and add an exclamation point. You really need it to make it exciting. And the one reason I do mention passwords is when there are data breaches that occur, anywhere in the world really, and it affects just one consumer of Massachusetts, the entity who had the breach has to report it to our office and the Attorney General. And breaches aren't always credit card information, social security numbers. Sometimes all it is a password or a login credential. So if you get a letter from, let's just say your library, to say, hey, we were hit with ransomware, don't worry, they didn't get a credit card, but all they got was your login credential. That would be your clue or cue to say, great, let's change my passwords across the board. Because if you're that one person who has one password for everything, and someone just got your information through the library, I'm not knocking the library, but it does happen. If that password is used now for your Amazon account, your credit cards, your this, that, and the other, you want to make sure you immediately change your passwords. As I mentioned, return policies, kind of too good to be true, yes, red flags. When you're looking at and using the websites, make sure it does say HTTPS for secure and not just simply HTTP. There are stores and a lot of banks now that have their own app, a downloadable app that is actually a secure way to shop or do your banking. For example, Amazon has their own app. So if you're using the free Wi-Fi here, it's not a big deal because if you're going to go into the app, it's now automatically secure. So it's great. But I would just say if you're going to do online shopping and you're not using a secure app or your own secure Wi-Fi, I'd be very careful. There are these people out there, they're called creepers. They love to go to COAs, libraries, coffee shops, and just kind of hang out, waiting to see if anybody's going to use the free Wi-Fi, and trying to jump into your device. So you want to make sure that if you're going to go shopping, do it at home, or use a secure app. It just is going to make your life a lot easier. Porch pirates. So I just did this presentation to a group in Mandarin. I don't speak Mandarin, but we had a translator, and it was interesting to figure out how do you describe what a porch pirate is. It just comes something silly in English, but it didn't quite translate very well. We do tend to get calls about people complaining about porch pirates. All they do is they go around neighborhoods following the Amazon truck, the UPS truck, looking for your packages. So I would spend an extra $1 or $2 if you're going to have a lot of gifts being sent to places, to friends. Have them make sure to be signed for, so it's not just dumped at someone's house. It's really tough to dispute that when it happens, and people get very upset, rightfully so, and then we get calls, and it's not fun. Are they playing bingo? I love it. So some of the other issues with porch pirating: fake delivery notices, phishing links, impersonating, tracking scams. If you haven't signed up for a tracking company, so for example, if you get a lot of packages through FedEx, you can sign up to have your packages tracked, and they'll give you notification. They'll send you a text message, "Hey Sarah, this is the FedEx, your gift is going to be arriving in an hour." But if you haven't signed up for any of those trackings, be aware that there are fake scams out there for fake tracking businesses. They'll try to impersonate, "Hi, this is Sarah, I'm calling from Amazon." Amazon is never going to call you, ever. If they do, I'd be shocked. So just be aware that those are the kinds of things that are out there looking for your information. Credit cards versus debit cards. If you can, stop using your debit card. If you're one of those people that you have to use your debit card, I understand. Do have a daily spending limit for that card in case it ever gets picked up. And when I say picked up, anybody with a smartphone that has a camera can be a scam artist. If you give me your credit card or debit card at the drive-thru, you're getting coffee, boom, picture in the front, picture in the back. You don't know what's happened. Here's your coffee and your card. I have your information now. So, and the reason I say debit cards to stop using your debit card is because if someone gets a hold of your debit card information, they can drain your account very quickly. If it's a credit card, yes, it's still going to be irritating. You're still going to have to call Visa, MasterCard, whomever, and say, "Look, I don't recognize the top or the last 15 transactions. Those were not mine." You're not going to be held liable for those. It's going to be covered under an insurance policy. But you can go on with your day. Your credit card company will cancel the card and send you a new card, and I understand it's a pain if that card is attached to any automatic payments. I get that. But think about it. At least you still have cash and you can still pay your bills. Yes, you have to figure out a new credit card. No big deal. And I'll use a friend of mine as an example. She used her debit card at a gas station, and the number got picked up. And by the time she got home, her bank account was cleaned out. And it took her 4 months to get all the cash back in. So I would rather still have cash in the bank and have to call Visa and say, hey, got scammed, I need a new card. That's just going to make your life a little bit easier. And then one thing I should mention about cards. Does everybody know what the Wi-Fi symbol is? It's like 3 little half circles. If you have the Wi-Fi symbol on your credit card, I'm going to don't scan my card.
Oh, I never saw that before.
So what this means is, this means that this credit card has an antenna.
What?
So what it means is, what's lovely about having a card with an antenna is that it's harder to scam. Oh, this is it's up in the corner. Sometimes it's in the front, sometimes it's in the back. So what it means is, what it means is you don't have to shove or swipe to use your card. You simply tap. Much easier, faster, and much more difficult to scam with this kind of a card. I would suggest, though, if you have one of these cards, you should get, they're called an RFID blocker. And I have a few. They are simple, they are durable, they cost nothing. We bought like 4,000 of these for a couple $100 to hand out. What it does is that keeps this card safe so that if I go on to, say, Craigslist for under $100, I can get a device that looks kind of like this. And I can walk into a room and hit a button, see who has credit cards in this room that are not being kept safely. So I'll hand these out. You guys can have a couple. If you have a passport, the passport changed about 10 years ago, I think. When they redesigned it, when it's perfectly closed, it acts as a barrier, so you're fine. But if you've ever had a passport, the only day that passport ever stays perfectly closed is the day it arrives. As soon as you open it once, it always stays open. You can buy the same thing, these on it. I bought one on Amazon for like $5. It's just another way to keep your personal information home close to you and safe.
So you can scan it with that device?
Not this,
No.
it looks like this.
If you put that on your card, you can use that on the machines, okay?
So this is, when you're using the card, you take this out of this,
Okay.
and then you tap it
Yeah.
and put it back in.
I got it.
Super, super easy. I had someone who said, oh, I use tinfoil. That would drive me bananas if I had to use tinfoil.
I used to.
Yeah, I mean, there are some wallets that are being designed with an
Yeah.
RFID blocker in it. There are purses the same way.
Yeah.
So you can get them in various ways. We just decided to order these because they're so much easier for people.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So if you feel like you may have been scammed for something, something happened to you, the first thing you should do is file a police report and get a copy of the police report. I'm not knocking our police, but I don't think they're going to be able to do a lot. But as you need to get it in writing, you need them to know that this is happening. That way you take that document and you let your bank know, your credit card company, any of your financial institutions, let them know that something is happening. Or something did happen. That way they can red flag and monitor your accounts much more closely to make sure nothing else happens. You can also go and get a credit freeze. This is super easy, and I highly suggest this. Anybody with a pulse has a social security number. Anybody. Now, the easiest thing to keep that social security number much safer is to freeze your credit. You can go to all 3 of the credit bureaus. You create an account. It takes a few minutes. They will ask you personal information because they have to verify it as you. But then you're going to do a credit report check first. Make sure everything that's on all 3 of the credits is really yours. Your name, your address, date of birth. Is there a credit card listed on here? Is a mortgage listed on here? just be aware that not all of the information is going to be on all 3 of the credit reports. So for example, when I bought a condo during the pandemic, and my lender only checked 2 of the 3 credit bureaus. So my mortgage is only listed on 2. I thought they had listed everything, but they don't. So you want to just make sure you do a credit report check. If everything looks fine, fantastic, freeze it. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't affect your current lines of credit. But what it does is if anybody gets a hold of your social security number, they can't open up a new line of credit without your authorization. You'll get a letter from Experian, hey, you know, we just noticed we got an application for a new Visa or a MasterCard. Is this you? So if you have children or grandchildren in your life, kids should have their information frozen as well. During the pandemic, data breach notifications really jumped quite a bit. And the types of entities that were hit were high schools, colleges, universities, daycare centers, medical centers, urgent care, not just like the big company that you would kind of think, oh, might be hit with a ransomware attack. And a lot of these fraudsters are going after kids because kids have perfect credit. Nothing's on it. So they, you know, a fraudster wants to be your kid in another city, another state, and a lot of times, most often, a parent won't know that that's happened until, say, little Susie turns 16, goes to get her license. They run your credit when you do go for your license. AARP years ago had a great article. A daycare center somewhere in the middle of the country got hit and robbed. They took a couple of the laptops, but they didn't take a lot. But so the daycare center owners didn't really think too much about it. Okay, so they got a laptop, we'll go get a new laptop. All of the children's information and social security numbers were on those laptops. Fast forward 16 years later, little Susie's now 16 going to get her license. There are 3 DUIs in different cities and states. And it took some time to clear her name of that. So kids should have their information frozen as well. Now, if you need to open up a new line of credit, it really doesn't take much time to thaw your credit or unfreeze it. They say it takes 24 hours. Mine only took 3 or 4. It didn't take very much time, but it's one of those things that it's the easiest thing for everybody to do to make life more difficult for a fraudster. Does anybody have questions?
How did you unfreeze it or whatever?
Oh, sure. I just, I called the 800 number. I had created an account. I gave them my PIN, and then they asked me a few security questions, and then they unfroze it. And I said, look, can you freeze it back up in 24 hours? He said, perfectly fine. And then once my lender ran my credit, I got a mortgage. I actually just called him back within that same day and said, let's freeze it back up again. It's funnily enough, I forgot that I did it, and my lender called and he said, I can't give you a mortgage. I'm like, what? What's going on? He's like, well, it's frozen. Oh. Just some consumer tips. 2-factor authentication. A lot of people complain about it. Ugh, something else to do. They have to send me a message on my phone. It's just another hoop for a fraudster that's going to make life more difficult for them. As I mentioned, try not to use the public Wi-Fi if you're doing lots of shopping and checking your bank account or running your credits. Software updates. Please do your software updates. It is really imperative. If you don't do those updates, it gives the fraudster access to your home. So you want to make sure when your phone says, hey, it's time to do a security update, you should do those updates. If you are not a techie person, I'm not a techie person, take your device to Verizon or whoever your carrier is. They'll tell you if there's something going on with your phone and help you do an update. I'm not a techie person. Whenever something's wrong with my laptop, I go to the Apple Store. I feel super foolish because the person who fixes it does it in 3 seconds, 3 clicks, and it's like 17. I always feel like, oh, that's great. But you know what? That kid knows what he's doing. He knows the machine, and I can trust that person. So you just want to make sure that all of your devices, and I say this because my mom's got like 4. I'm like, Mom, do you need all of this technology? She's like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, are you going to start gaming? Maybe. I'm like, oh my God. You can do spending alerts Different banks have different policies. So every time you use that credit card, you might get a text message. So it just depends on how you want to do that. I have a friend who does that. So she's like, "What? I was watching a movie on a Friday night, not shopping, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding." She starts getting messages saying, "Your purchase for this, your purchase for that." So she had to call the bank and shut the card off immediately. So this is all of our contact information. We have a consumer hotline that's run Monday through Friday from 9 to 4:30. It is not automated. You will get a human being who will answer the phone. We also have live language translation, up to 13 different languages, which we just started a couple of months ago. So if you ever have a question, a comment, a concern about something, you want to report something to us, let us know. You can call us. I will say, if we are swamped, because sometimes in the holiday season we get a lot of calls. In the last 3 months, we got roughly 6,000 calls in 3 months. So we're busy. You can leave us a message, and we will call you back within 2 business days. Usually it's the same day, but you never know. We are on X and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and we just started a couple of months ago doing a consumer e-newsletter. So we don't sell your information, we don't give you your information. It's just a simple newsletter to let you know things that we're hearing about in our office. So if we start getting a ton of calls about one specific situation, whether it's a fraudster or what have you, it'll be in that newsletter. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.